What if everything you thought you knew about Jackie's story is about to flip? And the next season changes her life forever. The world of my life with the Walter boys isn't just about romance anymore. It's about choices that can't be undone, feelings that won't stay hidden, and a future that no one is ready for. Right now, fans are on edge, waiting for any sign about Season 3, and honestly, the silence itself is making things even more intense. Because when a show like this goes quiet, it usually means something big is coming. And if you've been following Jackie's journey from the start, you already know nothing in her life stays simple for long. Jackie didn't just move into a new house, she walked into a completely different life. Living with the Walter family brought chaos, comfort, and confusion all at once. From the very beginning, her story has been about trying to fit into a place where she never expected to belong. And somehow, in the middle of all that noise, she found connections that started to feel real. But those connections also came with pressure. Feelings got complicated, especially with the brothers, and what started as small moments slowly turned into something much bigger. By the time we reached the latest part of the story, things were already messy. Relationships weren't clear, emotions were running high, and Jackie was stuck between what she feels and what she thinks is right. That's what makes this series so addictive. It's not just about who she ends up with, it's about who she becomes while making those choices. Every decision carries weight, and every moment feels like it could change everything. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Shows on Netflix don't just continue unless there's strong demand, and this one clearly has it. The fan base has grown fast, and people are constantly talking about what should happen next. That kind of attention matters. It tells the creators that the story still has power, that viewers are emotionally invested, and that there's more to explore. And when a story has unfinished emotions and unanswered questions, it almost always leads to another season. Think about it. Jackie's journey is far from complete. She hasn't fully figured out where she belongs, who she truly trusts, or what kind of future she wants. And that's exactly why Season 3 feels so important. It's not just a continuation, it's a turning point. This is where everything built in the earlier seasons starts to come together. The choices she avoided before, she won't be able to avoid them anymore. The feelings she tried to ignore, they're going to come out, whether she's ready or not. At the same time, the Walter family itself is changing. The bond between the brothers, the tension that sometimes stays hidden, and the way they each deal with Jackie, it all adds another layer to the story. This isn't just about one person anymore. It's about how everyone's lives are connected, and how one decision can affect all of them. That's what makes the next chapter feel so unpredictable. And let's be real, fans aren't just waiting for answers. They're expecting something bigger, something deeper, something that hits harder than before. Season 3 has the chance to raise the stakes in a way the show hasn't done yet. More emotion, more conflict, and maybe even moments that no one sees coming. Right now, we're standing at that point where everything could go in any direction. And that's exactly what makes this so exciting. Because when a story reaches this level of tension, the next move isn't just important, it defines everything that comes after. Season 3 of My Life with the Walter Boys hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but the situation is far from uncertain. In fact, if you look closely at how shows grow on Netflix, the chances of another season feel stronger than ever. This platform usually pays close attention to how fast a show gains attention, how much people talk about it online, and how long viewers stay interested after finishing it. And in this case, the series has done exactly what it needed to do. It pulled people in, kept them watching, and left them wanting more. One important thing to understand is that renewal decisions are not only based on numbers, but also on momentum. When a show builds a loyal audience that keeps discussing theories, sharing clips, and asking questions about what comes next, it creates pressure in a good way. That pressure tells the creators that stopping now would leave too much unfinished. And this story clearly feels unfinished. Jackie's journey hasn't reached a real conclusion, and the emotional conflicts are still open, which makes it hard to imagine the story ending here. Another detail that makes Season 3 feel likely is the way the previous season ended. It didn't close doors. It opened new ones. Instead of giving clear answers, it created more questions, especially around relationships and personal choices. This kind of ending is often used to prepare the ground for the next chapter. It keeps viewers thinking, replaying moments in their minds, and trying to guess what happens next. That kind of engagement is exactly what platforms look for when deciding whether to continue a show. Timing also plays a big role here. Usually, after a season is released, it takes a few months for the platform to study its performance. During this time, they look at viewing hours, completion rates, and audience reactions. If everything lines up well, the announcement for a new season often follows. That means even if there hasn't been a clear update yet, it doesn't mean the project isn't moving forward behind the scenes. In many cases, decisions are already being discussed long before they are shared with the public. There's also the factor of storytelling potential. Some shows naturally reach a point where there's nothing left to explore, but that's not the case here. This story still has space to grow. Jackie's character is still developing, her relationships are still shifting, and the dynamics inside the Walter family are far from stable. When a show still has multiple directions it can take, it becomes more valuable to continue rather than stop. Another strong sign comes from the audience itself. The level of interest hasn't dropped. It's actually increasing. New viewers are still discovering the series, while existing fans keep rewatching and discussing it. That kind of steady growth is something that platforms don't ignore. It shows that the series isn't just a short-term success, but has the potential to stay relevant for a longer time. It's also worth noting that shows aimed at younger audiences often get more chances to continue, especially when they mix drama, relationships, and personal growth in a way that feels real. This series fits perfectly into that space. It connects with viewers on an emotional level, which makes people more attached to the characters and more invested in what happens next. Even without an official announcement, all the signs point in one direction. The story isn't finished, the audience is still fully engaged, and the platform has every reason to keep it going. At this stage, it's less about if and more about when. And that waiting period, where nothing is confirmed but everything feels possible, is exactly what builds the most excitement. When people talk about a Season 3 trailer for My Life with the Walter Boys, most of what's being shared right now falls into two categories. Early teasers that feel more like mood pieces, and fan-made edits that try to imagine what the next chapter could look like. But even without an official full trailer, there are still plenty of details and clues worth breaking down. Because sometimes what isn't shown clearly can tell you just as much as what is. The first thing that stands out in these teaser-style clips is the shift in tone. Earlier seasons balanced light moments with emotional tension, but everything now feels heavier. The colors often look darker, the music feels slower, and the pacing gives off a sense that something serious is about to happen. This kind of change usually means the story is moving into a deeper phase, where decisions carry more weight and consequences become harder to escape. It suggests that Season 3 won't just continue the story, it will push it into more intense territory. Another detail that keeps showing up is the focus on Jackie being alone in certain moments. Instead of always being surrounded by the Walter family, there are hints that she might spend more time dealing with things on her own. This could mean she's starting to rely less on others and trying to figure things out independently. At the same time, it might also show that her relationships are becoming more complicated, creating distance where there used to be comfort. There are also strong hints about rising tension between the brothers. In previous seasons, their bond was a key part of the story, even when there was conflict. But now, it feels like that balance might break. Small looks, short conversations, and moments of silence in these teaser clips suggest that something bigger is building underneath. If Season 3 leans into this, it could turn their relationship into one of the main conflicts, rather than just a background element. Another interesting clue is how the editing highlights emotional reactions instead of clear events. Instead of showing exactly what happens, the clips focus on expressions: shock, hesitation, sadness. This kind of approach is often used to keep the actual plot hidden while still building curiosity. It tells viewers that big moments are coming, but doesn't reveal what those moments are. That creates a sense of mystery, which is exactly what keeps people talking and guessing. There are also rumors about new characters being introduced, and some of the teaser visuals seem to support that idea. Quick shots of unfamiliar faces or scenes that don't match past settings suggest that the story might expand beyond what we've already seen. New characters usually mean new challenges, and they can shift the direction of relationships in unexpected ways. If handled well, this could add another layer to the story without taking away from what already works. The most important thing to notice, though, is what these early glimpses are trying to build. A feeling. They're not giving answers, they're building tension. Everything points toward a season where choices can't be undone, and where emotions reach a breaking point. It feels like the story is preparing for moments that will force characters to face the truth, even if they're not ready for it. Even without a full official trailer released by Netflix, the direction is becoming clear. Season 3 is not aiming to stay safe. It's setting up a shift, one that could change how viewers see the characters and their relationships. And when a show starts moving in that direction, it usually means the next chapter will be the one people remember the most. Looking at how My Life with the Walter Boys has been released so far, the timeline gives some strong clues about when Season 3 could arrive. Shows like this usually follow a pattern, even if it's not exactly the same every time. After a season drops, there's a gap where production teams review performance, plan the next chapter, and begin early development. That phase can take a few months on its own, especially when the story needs to grow in a meaningful way instead of rushing forward. If Season 3 moves ahead, the next step would be writing and pre-production. This includes finalizing scripts, setting locations, and preparing the cast. For a series built around emotional storytelling and character development, the writing process is especially important. It's not just about continuing the story, it's about making sure every decision feels real and earned. That takes time, and it often explains why there's a delay between seasons. Filming itself can take several months, depending on how complex the season is. Since this show focuses on multiple characters and relationships, it likely involves many different scenes, locations, and interactions that need careful attention. Weather, actor schedules, and location availability can also affect the timeline. Even small delays during filming can push the release date further than expected. After filming, there's still post-production, which includes editing, sound work, and final adjustments. This stage shapes how the story feels on screen. The pacing, the emotional moments, the music, all of it comes together here. For a drama like this, post-production plays a big role in making scenes hit the right way. Rushing this stage would weaken the impact, so it's usually handled with care. When you combine all these stages, a realistic release window starts to form. If everything moves smoothly and the renewal happens without long delays, Season 3 could arrive roughly a year to a year and a half after the previous season. That places it somewhere in a mid to late release window rather than an early one. This kind of timing is common for shows on Netflix, especially those that rely heavily on character-driven storytelling. Another factor to consider is how the platform schedules its content. Releases are often planned to avoid clashing with other major shows. If there are bigger titles coming out at a certain time, smaller or mid-sized series might be pushed to a different slot to give them more space to shine. This means even if Season 3 is ready earlier, it might still be held back to fit into a better release window. There's also the question of promotion. Before a new season drops, there's usually a build-up phase with teasers, trailers, and announcements. This doesn't just happen randomly, it's carefully planned to create maximum attention. If promotion hasn't started yet, it's a sign that the release is still some time away. Once teasers begin to appear, that's when the countdown truly starts. Taking all of this into account, the most realistic expectation is not an immediate release, but a carefully timed one. The gap between seasons isn't just waiting, it's preparation. Every part of the process is designed to make sure the next chapter feels stronger, deeper, and more complete than before. So instead of expecting a sudden drop, it makes more sense to watch for early signs. News about production, hints from the cast, or small updates from the platform. Those signals usually appear before anything official is announced. And when they do, they point clearly toward the final stage, the moment when the release date is finally revealed and the wait starts to feel worth it.